In today's video, preparation on the day of your exam. Welcome to Making Music. I am Michael, and today we are talking everything you need to do to prepare on the day of your exam. This is going to be a two-parter, so we're going to do everything right up to the door where you go through the exam, and then everything post the door into the exam. So the first one and then the second one, so do stay tuned for the second one. As always, we'll be going through all the different elements, and then we'll be leaving you with a top tip at the end. As always, as well, you know there's a million one ways to play music and a million one ways to go about it. My advice is based on my education, bachelor's degree from Trinity, master's degree from Royal College, and I've been teaching and playing professionally for over 20 years. I hope you find something you like. If you don't, do you know what? That's okay too. Whatever you do, please leave me a comment, like the video, and even better if you would subscribe. Right, so let's get into it. So I realise that this is technically the first point I'm going to give you is not actually on the day. But I'm actually going to take it back a day, and that is, first and foremost, make sure you get a good night's sleep before the exam, obviously. Not after you've done the exam, that'd be a bit weird, but you can do that anyway, but you know what I mean. Do not self-sabotage, right? Self-sabotage is a whole nother subject we can go into. It's basically where somebody might go out and party all night and turn up to the exam a little bit worse for wear. Or they might, if they're a reed instrument player like an oboe or a bassoon, they might accidentally scrape their reed a little bit too much and completely ruin their reed. Basically, it's like a coping mechanism. So they'll go to the exam, and if they do badly, they'll go, well, hey, how was I ever going to have a good exam because I was, not in the right frame of mind, or my reed wasn't very good, whatever. And if they do well, then they just say, well, wow, look what an amazing player I am. I did well despite of those silly things that were going on, okay? Don't self-sabotage, it's just silly. So just some suggestions that you might want to do. You might, for instance, want to watch a film the night before, just take your mind off everything completely. I'm no sleep expert or doctor or anything like that, but I have been told that it's best to limit screen time before going to bed. So for at least an hour, whether that's true or not, I think it probably is. There's some merit in that. So you might want to read a book for an hour before you go to bed. If you're an adult, you might want to have a glass of wine, no more, take it easy, if that just helps you just to calm down a little bit. But yeah, whatever you do, go to bed early. Even if you're not completely sleeping right from the moment you go to bed, just relax, get your body to relax, try and relax your mind as much as possible. Okay. The next tip I'm going to give you is actually kind of related. You can kind of start this the day before as well, but it's basically have a list of everything you need for the exam, that is. So before you leave the house, you can go through a list of things you're going to need. So have you got your music? Have you got your accompanist's music? Have you got spare strings, spare reeds, spare... I don't know. Have you got your footstool if you're a guitar player? Have you got a tuner with you, if that's going to be of use to you? Maybe metronome, maybe not. Maybe a bottle of water, maybe, whatever you think you're going to need for the exam, have a list prepared so you can check it through the night before, or the day before you actually leave the house. The other thing that you might want to do is to leave that list at the bedside table. Because if you, like me, sometimes you wake up when you've just gone to bed and you go, oh, I must remember ketchup. I've got to bring ketchup with me to my exam. I must remember. And then you lie there for 20 minutes thinking, I must remember. And then on the day you forget it anyway. No, have a list by the side of your bedside table, and then you can just quickly write whatever it is you remember, okay? Now, the next few are very, very much going to depend on when your exam is in the day. So I'm going to cover off a few topics, but depending on when your exam is going to depend on how you fit it into your schedule. So the first topic that we're going to cover off is practice on the day. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of practicing on the day. If you haven't learned it by then, you're not gonna, so just roll with it, okay? Just wing it, whatever you want to call it. Avoid going into doing too much practice, because you will inevitably, something might just creep up and it will make you worry for the whole exam. So, oh my God, I've never made that mistake before. I'm gonna run. don't play too much. What I would do much better in my opinion is basically getting the fingers warmed up a little bit. So you, for instance, as a pianist, one of the things I always really like to play is Hanon exercises. I think they're great for just getting the fingers moving. And you know, they can help with technical bits as well. So I think that's a great thing to do. Start off slow, you know, speed them up a little bit, and just get your fingers moving. Even when I was doing piano, I would still practice. Bassoon, I would still practice piano Hanon because it got my fingers moving well. Okay. Do not over practice. I've done it myself. I did it for my final recital at Trinity. I played too much during the day. I practiced too much. And my lip was going in the slow movement of the concerto I was playing. So like, you know, long notes and sort of lip doesn't quite want to work as well as it should. We hung in there, but it was a bit touch and go, that one. So don't over practice. As a woodwind instrument, you might, as a brass instrument, you might want to just play some long notes, get the instrument vibrating as well. So that's always a good thing to do as well. But again, don't overdo it. Next thing we're going to cover off is food. Yes, food. Now you're probably thinking, why? Well, actually, it's quite important because what you don't want to do is go to the exam too hungry, and you don't want to go into the exam full up either. So probably best to avoid your KFCs and McDonald's on the day just before you go to the exam. Yeah. As delicious and nutritious I'm sure they are, I'm not an expert on nutrition, so don't quote me, or don't come after me on that one. But I always feel a bit heavy after having a fast food meal, so I would recommend not doing that. Somebody once told me that it's a good idea to have some chocolate before you go into an exam. It's energy for your brain. Yeah, I tried that as well, and it was a nice idea, I'll give them that. The only problem with having a bit of chocolate was my energy levels were up here to begin with. Up here to begin with, and then they quickly went down to there. And for the rest of the exam, I was just kind of just coasting. Yeah. Again, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not an expert on nutrition, but I believe it's got something to do with the sugar spike and a sugar fall drop, whatever you want to call it. So I would avoid that as well. If you want something as a bit of a pick-me-up before, a snack before, or to get you into it, to get your mind and your brain ready, I would recommend two things. One is a cup of coffee. If you don't like coffee, tea, I suppose would be okay. Not too much, because you don't want to be drinking too much either. And the other thing is an apple. Apple, yes, there's a bit of sugar in there. Of course, there is sucrose and all the rest. But it's a healthy snack, and there's lots of fiber in there. It'll help to keep your blood sugar levels much more even. Again, I'm not an expert on nutrition, but so if you know better, please do call me out on this. Okay, so we've covered off a couple of topics that are kind of like, you know, depends on what time of the day your exam is. Now, the next tip I'm going to give you is you're going to be so angry with me thinking, Michael, so obvious, come on. Leave plenty of time to get to the exam. Yeah, you'd be surprised. Look, as well, you know, I've played in so many exams, like with the music service, we'd have days on end where we'd be doing exams. There was always one person that was late. There was always one, or two, or maybe even three sometimes. And some people, that, you know, there's absolutely genuine reasons. Sometimes you get stuck behind an accident. A motorbike crashes into a rubbish lorry, which happened to me on the motorway once. It took me 5 hours to get home from there. It normally take me less than an hour. It took me 5 hours. So, you know, sometimes these things happen. Make sure you have the number of the exam centre so you can give them a quick call to say, look, we're going to be late because of this. I'm really sorry. You know, that happens. But I was always mind blown the amount of people that would turn up for an exam, be so blasé about it, and say, oh, you do realise you are half an hour late. Oh, am I? Talk about creating a bad impression before you've even met the examiner. Okay? Should it make a difference to how you play? No, probably not, but it's not going to be good psychologically if you're worried about being late. So leave plenty of time, please. What I'd like to do is I always try to get there about an hour early. I know an hour early, you're thinking you're completely nuts. Yes, I am nuts, but I am always early. It's a bit of a phobia of mine, if I'm honest. But what I would do is I get there early and I go for a walk. 20 minutes, half an hour walk, something like that. And what that would allow me to do is to compose myself. Again, I'm not an expert on this, but I'm pretty sure the physical activity helps with your mood. It helps with your thinking, get blood pumping around the body. And the other thing I would do is I would sing. I know, a bit strange. I know I'm a very strange person. But what that did is, again, help with my mood, but also it helped to clear my airways a little bit. So for instance, particularly when I was playing the bassoon, I always felt a lot clearer. I was able to project more. And even if I was doing a piano exam, it still helped with my mood. So I think that's always a really good thing to do if you can before an exam. Just go for a little walk. Helps to get you in the right frame of mind. So the other thing is, you get to the exam, you're nice and early, obviously, they take you to a waiting room. Have something to do. Maybe read a book, maybe have a little game to play on your phone, whatever you want, but have something there to distract you so you're not thinking about it. Or, talk to whoever it is that's taking you to the exam. I know, talking to people, God forbid, what do we used to do? They used to do that in the olden days, I know, amazing. Okay, I'm being silly now, but you get my idea. Just, don't worry about anything exam, just get there. Make sure your accompanist is there on time as well. Sometimes it's a good idea to meet up early with them to make sure they're going to be there early, if you know what I mean. I met a few accompanists who weren't always the best at turning up on time, so I would deliberately meet up with them super early and they could come on a walk with me or something like that. But yeah, make sure they're on time as well. So you've got, you're ready, you're waiting in the exam room, the waiting room, and then they come and they ask you to come to the warm-up room. Okay, what I would try and avoid if you can, and that is, don't play through your entire program in the warm-up time that you have. What's much better to do is just to do tops and tails, do a few bits, a few transitions, what have you, anything which was niggling at you. Don't go through the big long solo piece, section or what have you. Just a few little bits and pieces. Make sure you're happy. Play some long notes if you're a wind instrument. That always helps to get the instrument vibrating. Same thing with strings. Get big, long, big sound. Project as much as you can. No one ever got famous for playing piano. It's an important part of playing, of course it is, but you don't get famous for it. And at the end of the day, you're doing an exam. You are the soloist. You are the performer. They're here to hear you. So that's a whole other subject in terms of dynamics, but let's not go into that. So just play a little bit, get the instrument warmed up, and get ready to go. Okay, so you've done your little warm up, you get a knock on the door, time to go. So walk you and your accompanist, if you have one, to the door, and that's where we're going to stop. Watch the next video, which is going to tell you all about what to do after this and in the exam as well. But before we go, I will leave you with not one, but 2 top tips this week. The first one is for all of those who will need an accompanist on the day. If possible, arrange a session beforehand with that accompanist. Make sure they have the music so they have a chance to see it through. And then try and arrange a time where you can go through it with them. Okay, that's always a very, very useful thing to do. Gets you used to them, the way they play. It makes them used to the way you play. Now for my second top tip, that's a bit more generic. And what I would do, if you can, again, if possible, is arrange a time where you can go into the exam room, the room where you're going to be having your exam, and play the instrument, play the piano there, get used to that piano, and even better, do a mock exam in that room, and that applies to both pianists and obviously instrumentalists. Maybe have your teacher act as the examiner and play through your entire program and see how it goes. It gets your mind used to it, gets it in the frame. You can visualize how it will go, and it's a really, really great experience. If you can't get into the room where you're going to be doing your exam, it's a good idea to do mock exams anyway. I always just say play for as many people as you can, because you get their opinion, get their feedback. You don't always have to take everyone's feedback on board. Listen to your teacher first, I would say. But there's no harm in playing to other people. Okay, so those are my top tips for you this week. Do stay tuned for that second video, but thank you so much for watching. Hope you found something useful. As always, comments, bell button, subscribe, the whole lot. And I'll see you in the next video in a minute. Bye for now.